In our last session, we read a letter from a woman whose 15-year-old stepson was about to be released from a correctional facility after serving time for sexually abusing an 8-year-old girl. Her husband, Larry, wanted the boy, Matt, to move in with them, but she was concerned about his moving in with her and her 2 young daughters. I suggested that she remember that in loving people, we're not obligated to satisfy people, only to love as well as we're able. Love is about giving freely what we can and to give people what they need, not necessarily what they want. Now, back to the mother who wrote the letter. Matt wants to move in with you, and Larry wants that too, but is that a need for either of them? Matt's real need is to feel loved, and Larry's need is to love his son. The question is, does Matt have to live with you and Larry for all that to be possible? Probably not. Now, if there were no risk involved with Matt moving in with you, we wouldn't even be talking about whether Matt should move in with his own father. But there is a risk. Once people get a taste for sexual abuse, that is a powerful source of imitation love to set aside. It's a huge source of power, mostly, and also pleasure. And although I have seen some people overcome this addiction with sufficient help, it's not an easy process. The counselors at the detention facility expressed a belief that Matt was ready for release. But remember that making that decision, making that determination is difficult when he's in an environment where he's not exposed to the source of his addiction. And many institutions have a bias toward getting people discharged and on their way. They want to empty out their facilities so they can get new people in. Whatever the recommendation, you have the safety of your daughters to consider. And if bringing Matt into your house puts their safety at risk, which it does, you have to consider whether there are other ways to fill Matt's need for love. The primary need here is your daughter's safety. That has to be first. Then, how can you love Matt while keeping your daughters safe? That's how you need to look for solutions here, regardless of how everybody reacts to the choices you make. So, in all the solutions you consider, and there are many possible, one of them cannot be that Matt lives in the house with you. There's no way this young man could be trusted in the house with your young girls. It would be too big a temptation for him and too dangerous for them. Pay attention to this. His not living with you is the most loving choice. If he were recovering from alcoholism, for example, would you get him a job in a liquor store? Of course not, because the temptation for him to drink would be too strong. It would actually be mean and unloving of you to put him in that position. Similarly, to put a sexual offender, particularly this one, who has demonstrated a taste for young girls, in a home where 2 young girls live would be unkind to him, not to mention dangerous to the girls. We waste so much time talking about what we want when it conflicts with what is needed or what is wise. Remember, we made the most important decision first, the safety of your daughters, and all the other decisions hinge on that most important decision. So, we have lots of choices, but regardless of what anybody wants, Matt simply can't live with you. So, what choices are available? We'll talk about that in the next session.